Hello and welcome back to part 5 of our Dwarf Fortress tutorial. By this point, my goal with this tutorial series is to get you to where you're set up with a sustainable fort. Not to teach you how to play Dwarf Fortress, but just to teach you how to get your fort set to where you're not worrying about food, you're not worrying about drinks, you're not worrying about the occasional crocodile that wanders up into your fortress, and you can begin to enjoy the game. Because I realize this game can be kind of frustrating at times, especially early on, whenever dwarves are dying or getting dehydrated or things just aren't getting made, and you don't know why. So my hopes here is to overcome that, so then you can begin to finally get into the game and enjoy what Dwarf Fortress is. So today I'm mostly going to talk about some things that are a little bit more a step up from the beginner things from the previous videos, and also talk about a couple of things that I've gotten, a couple of comments that I've been getting over the videos and over the streams, and the questions and answer some of those today. So I want to start with talking about RimWorld, and I've gotten a lot of comments about RimWorld and questions kind of comparing the two. And obviously they are very similar games in some ways, in many ways. RimWorld is clearly inspired by Dwarf Fortress. And the thing is, though, when you play RimWorld, it's a different mentality versus going into Dwarf Fortress. Where RimWorld, if you're out of food, you just grab your pawn, you go tell them to go to the kitchen, make some food. If someone gets hurt, you tell your other pawn to go to the med bay to heal the guy. It's a lot more micromanagey than what Dwarf Fortress is. And Dwarf Fortress, I think I've used this metaphor before, this analogy before, and it's more of an ant farm, where rather than manually or micromanaging your dwarves, they pretty much run their lives. And as long as you set things in motion, which is what this tutorial series is hoping to do, then everything mostly runs the way it's supposed to run. Obviously, dragons and undead and elves show up, so there's things pop up, but you're not going to be like dying in the first year because you can't get enough food, or because you're not trying to survive that first year out in the elements, like many colony builders do. So, now that's out of the way, let's talk about a few things here in our fortress. I want to talk about fat first, and soap. So we got the soap thing running right now, and they're taking the tallow and making soap. And the thing I had issues with was getting the tallow made. And something you can do to help with that is the kitchen automatically takes the fat and renders it and makes you tallow. Also, the kitchen takes that tallow and makes meals out of it. And there's a way of stopping that from happening, which I should have done last time, but I didn't. It's a little extra steps, and I didn't want to get you into all the different menus, but it's very similar to the plump helmets, where you don't want them to cook the plump helmets like that. Make sure that's red. You can also come in here into the meat, fish, and others and find the tallow in here and tell them to not cook it. Now, if you have an animal that you are farming, say you've got, I don't know, sheep, for instance, or dogs, or whatever they are, you can keep an eye on this, and when you see your kitchen, it'll bring the fat in, and it'll switch it over to tallow. When that happens, it's a good idea to pause the kitchen so it's not cooking anything, and go in there and make sure that you have turned off fat from getting cooked. And that way, every time we slaughter a sheep, we will have tallow laying around, so that tallow will then go into the soap maker, so we'll always have a flow of soap coming into our fortress. You don't have to do every animal, just the ones you're farming, or one of the ones you're farming, to make sure that you've got a side thing of tallow hanging out there. Speaking of the med bay, you can see all the things that we need here, hitting the hourglass, or the glass here, magnifying glass here. We can see all the things in the kitchen. Or sorry, in the med bay that we're using. There's thread, for instance. We'll talk about that in a second. Cloth. We got splints, crutches. These are all in the fortress. Whenever someone gets hurt, we can go and look at the dwarf, and you can see their health. And within their health, it'll tell you if they have any wounds. A lot of times they'll be hurt, but it won't say they have any wounds because they haven't gone to the doctor and have the diagnostician say, "Hey, you broke your leg." So then you can look at the description and get an idea of some things there as well. Treatment is a menu that will tell you what's going on. So if you have a doctor's bay and there's a dwarf that's been sitting in there for a year and you don't know what's going on, you can go into treatment and it'll tell you what's wrong. If he needs sutures, it means he needs thread. It means you need thread in your doctor's bay. If he broke a leg and he can't walk, he probably needs a splint. And crutches. And you can kind of get an idea what's going on in there, and make sure you have doctors that can do those kinds of things also. One of the things it mentions in here is powder for casts. And you may be wondering, what do I get that from? Well, there's a whole nother menu for you. Here in the labor tab, we've got stone use. This is a cheat sheet. Basically, it tells you all the things and all the stones below you and what they do for you. So galena, it has silver and lead. Gold nuggets, of course, have gold. You've got alabaster, which will give you plaster powder. That's what you're looking for. Bituminous coal will give you coal, which will make coke eventually for forging things. If you want to make steel, you got to start with iron. You get that iron from something like hematite, which will give you iron. And then you take chalk. You take those iron bars and you make pig iron bars. And take those pig iron bars and they turn into steel bars. And any questions or any what does this do for me? That's what it does. There you go. Obsidian makes good sharp blades. For instance, tetrahedrite, silver, copper. So that is your cheat sheet for silver in the game there. Let's talk about burial, because I had a couple of dwarves that died last time, and we can see them in the unit menu into dead or missing, and we can see all the animals I've slaughtered, as well as where are they? There we go. Leecot and Leetast have both died. We can see their bodies. They I think they're down here in the caves. There's the toad that killed him. Down there. There's one in the stairway, and there's one down here I think down this way, down right there. So we got their bodies right there. What do we do with the bodies? Obviously, we want to bury them. One quick tip: if we want to make this way a quick zoom, we're going to click over here. I think I showed this before, and we're going to go zoom over here for our caves. So we can just go back there that way. F2. So, Leetast, we have their bodies. That means that's kind of a good thing for us, because we can just quickly make a coffin and throw them in the coffin. So we come over here to the stoneworker and make a coffin. Make a couple of rock coffins. I think we can do this at the carpenter shop as well. Wooden coffin? Wooden casket is what it is there. Now, if you don't have a body, you may notice you'll get a ghost haunting your fortress at some point. And there's a different way of doing it. You can't bury no body. So we have to go get ourselves a slab. We're going to come over here and make a rock slab. There's actually two different ways or two steps to this. You make the slab, and then you have to engrave their name in the slab and stick the slab out there like you would a coffin. I'm going to get this poor guy out in dumping stockpile, which I think I have a dumping stockpile set up. I may not. There's someone's nose there as well. If I don't have one of those set up, we need to make sure we get a dumping stockpile. I think I do, but I don't remember if I do. So we're going to garbage dump. We're just going to throw it over the edge here. There we go. It'll tumble down the hill there. Is that what you're doing? Nope, you're going to pick up... Oh, you're my patrol guy. Yeah. What is that bouncing around in there? What do they have in there? Something bouncing around in there. All right, so they're going to make those tombs, the caskets, and the slabs. Now, once they get them made, we're going to construct them just like anything else. Construction, we can come in here. We've got, in furniture, we've got a burial, which is a tomb. We can set up a burial tomb somewhere in the fortress. I'm going to stick one. We'll stick it right. We'll put it down here. One tomb. We got a casket. We'll put in a nice pink one there. Also, the other way of doing this is the slab. So we'll do one of them in the casket. The other one will go in the slab. We'll go, once we make the slab, anything they're making you can see gets thrown here down this way. There's a bunch of blocks hanging out. There's a cabinet there. The slab has been made. It's down here. We're going to tell them to engrave that slab. So back at the stoneworker shop, we go to add task, and we want to engrave memorial slab. Now it's going to say, who do you want to engrave it to? Well, let's go give it to Leecot. I think that was one of them that died. So we can give Leecot an engraved slab, and we hit do it now. So they're engraving that very same slab is getting engraved with Leecot's name on it. They're working on it right now. In a minute, they're going to be done, and we will have an engraved slab with Leecot's name on it. And we can place it out there just like... are you different, Leecot? Oh, no, that's that one. Okay. Yeah, we know Leecot's dead. So that is going to now a rhyolite memorial to Leecot. So this is like if Leecot's body was underwater or fell in some magma or, who knows, got burned up by a dragon, then we need to make a slab because otherwise she's going to start haunting the fortress. because your body needs to be put to rest. So we're going to go and place a slab over here. Now, which slab do we want? We have to go make sure and we pick the right one, because we have to hit this arrow here and pick the right slab to put in that spot. And you can do that on anything. Like if you've got 50 cages, you got to pick which cage you want to put out. That's where you would do that. So there is burial. That has been made. We're going to make that into a tomb, so we're going to hit the tomb button. I hope this changes at some point, but for right now, you have to make every tomb has to be its own square. And so this is now Leacott's square, and we can make a new one, which is back over here. And we're going to go into tomb and make that and accept. So there is our tombs to whoever. This is Leacott's tomb, and actually put Leacott's body in there. Or put a lot of stuff in there. I'm going to kick her out of there. And I want to... Actually, what we can do is we can come in here this way, and we can change this. Easier way of doing this. And set this thing up as... So typically, you wouldn't have a body when you make a slab. And I actually don't know how to take this off of them. Otherwise, other than just like removing the tomb and then redoing it. If someone knows, let me know in the comments. See if that works. And that make that Leatast's one. Leacott's stuff is in there. We can kick it out of there if we want. I suppose we'll find out if that works. We may have to make another one of those. Leacott may get a slab and a tomb because we have a body. And well, I guess we'll find out. Well, let's go make that other burial right there as well. There we go. Okay. I talked about burrows before, where we saw how to move our troops into burrows. I do want to touch on getting burrows for your people, for your citizens. It's not a bad idea to set up a burrow, basically covering your entire fortress. Anywhere that you want, like if you get attacked, then you want to make sure that your civilians hide out in the fortress and don't go wandering around outside. Or if they come inside, if they're already outside, you make sure they come inside. And so you kind of highlight everything here and set this up as a new burrow. And if we want, we can set up who's in here. We want everyone to be in this burrow. If we do get attacked and we want to send our troops out, they will ignore this if we give them orders to go out and kill something. So we'll go ahead and mark everyone in there. We have to do that every time. We're going to go ahead and have it pause, though, because we don't want them to use it right now. But if we did want them to use it, we would just come in here and unpause it, and then they would all go inside the burrow. Eventually. Takes them a minute, but eventually they would go inside there. We can also turn this off, because this is like a safety burrow, to where they will not go outside and continue using their workshops. So we'll turn that off, and they will eventually make their way inside, which they're doing right now. So we can pause it again, and then they'll go back out and do whatever they need to do. So if you get attacked by something, a were creature, it also comes in very handy with the were creature, which I think I mentioned. You can separate the folks that got bit, so that they don't, and then wall them off so that they don't terrorize the fortress when the full moon hits. And just keep people kind of locked away and safe from whenever things come and attack you. I talked about arrow slits before. I had to remove the wall to put the fortifications in. You don't have to do that. You can come in to your constructions. You can go to your engravings and hit carve a gap in a smooth wall to allow your archers. Like that. And it does the same thing on a already constructed wall. I seized the elves' goods last time, and I got a few folks asking what happens. Is there any downside to stealing the elf stuff? And yeah, they'll stop coming back. You may make them very angry. They may go to war with you. It's not a good idea if you want to keep friends with them. If you want them coming back and keep trading with you, then yeah, don't do that. Also, when you trade, there is a value, and there's a value of how much the trader is getting profit. The better the profit you give the guy, the more likely they're going to come back with more stuff. And so again, like if the humans come in here, the dwarves are always going to be here every fall. But the humans and the elves will only come back if they think it's worth their time. Let's see. Farming. I want to talk about the farming thing. So I talked a little bit about thread in the med bay. And I haven't touched on a couple things with this, but if we want to make thread, we can do it at a farmer's workshop. We can do all kinds of things at the farmer's workshop. We can milk animals and make cheese. We can process some plants and make like syrup and things. We can shear an animal. If there's an animal to be sheared, we can do it. We got an alpaca there. We're gonna go shear that alpaca, which I think we just someone's got it marked. Someone's going to go and do the job. Where's that alpaca? There he goes. So it's happening already. So it's going to give us some alpaca wool, which we can then go and spin some thread. And that'll give us thread. And now we need thread in here, if you don't remember. In the doctor's office, we need 5 thread in here. And we use that every time someone starts bleeding, we need to have thread, otherwise they're going to bleed out and die in the doctor's office. So it's a good idea to have some thread around. However, when you begin your clothing industry, you're going to make a loom. I'll just throw it over here. And you're going to make a clothes shop. And the loom will automatically go in and like if there's spider webs out there or there's spider in the caverns, it'll go out there and it'll grab up the webs and start whipping up some thread for you. When you build the loom, however, there's a standing order. So we're talking about a new menu here. And what that standing order does is it automatically will weave all threads in the cloth. We don't really want to do that. There's ways of disabling it, similar to how we did with the like the pump helmets and the fat. But another way of doing it is to come in here into the labor tab and go into standing orders. So everything that's all this sort of automation within the fortress is in this menu. I haven't touched on this one because it's kind of overwhelming. You've played some of the game now, so now we can touch on it. This one here, we can automatically weave all thread, like I just said that. We don't want that to happen. So he will not now automatically weave all thread. You can do that, but you can also just turn it off and then go in and do a work order like we do everything else in the game. They can use any cloth. They can use only dyed cloth, which you would get from your dyer. Automatically collect webs. If it's dangerous in the caverns, you may want to turn that off. Otherwise, they're going to charge down there and start picking webs. Marked animals get slaughtered, which we do in the pets menu. And you can see what all these do. There's the kitchen, which is doing the fats. Cleaning fish is automatically happening. Hauling, you may notice, these are all set automatically, but the refuse and dumping, you may notice, like if your archers start shooting outside, their bolts, they don't pick them up. They just get left outside with a little lock symbol on them, and they don't pick them up. Well, we can change that. So we do this with this one, sieges and forbidding. We can go claim your used for ammunition. The reason it's set as that now is so if you get attacked, people don't go out there and start picking stuff up while there's a fight going on. We have your dead being claimed. Other death items, you can go and turn that on so things get picked up and brought in. And you can mess with all this stuff. Now that you've got an idea about the game a bit more, you can kind of start tweaking some of these things on what you like and what you don't like. If you've got outdoor refuse, a lot of just junk piling up outside, you can tell them to go ahead and gather it and throw it out in the bin or whatever. Saving corpses and all that kind of stuff. It can be done in here in the standing orders. And that's where that thread comes in. So otherwise, normally they would go and just start making thread on their own. But now they're not going to do that. The clothes shop will go and make whatever clothes we want. Once we start getting clothing in here, we can start whipping up some clothing stuff, capes and whatever, for a sustainable clothing industry. We have the alpaca, but he's not going to hold up a whole fortress. We can go and build ourselves another farm plots. We have with the default setup, you start with some pigtails, and pigtails make a fine crop. This is a tiny one. You may need a little bigger than that, but for this demonstration, this will work. We'll build a plot here. We'll put some pigtails in it. Pigtails don't grow all year. They only grow, I think, in the summer and the autumn. Yeah, they don't grow in the winter and spring, so you can kind of rotate it through the seasons. But pigtails are one that you can put in there, and then there we go. And then it will go to the loom, get turned into thread, and then it'll just sit there as thread unless you turn that on, or a work order, and then they'll whip it up into some cloth. And then with that cloth, we can come over here to the clothes shop and start making whatever you want. Typically, what I do with this, because there's a lot of things here, and all the dwarves, you need a lot of stuff, and you're going to have like 150 dwarves in here. It's kind of hard to keep this organized. And so what you can do is go through a few of these. We'll start with a work order of, let's go in here and do it this way. We'll do a work order of a robe. We'll do a cloth robe. Now, I'm going to set this thing, I learned this from RimWorld, set this down to just have one, or we'll do 2 cloth robes. And then I'll set the work order on less than 1. So if it goes down to nothing, and then they'll go out and they'll make 2 robes. Because if they go in the stockpile and someone wants it, they'll grab it. So that way you kind of keep the robes in there without having like a pile of 50 of them sitting in the stockpile. And you can do it with other things like socks and shoes and all the stuff to have kind of a clothing industry going in there. Because once the stuff gets bad, they'll toss it out and then they'll get new stuff. So that way your dwarves will have a nice fresh supply of clothing. It's one way to keep your dwarves happy. Another way of keeping your dwarves happy is by, I've talked about statues and instruments. I haven't talked about artifacts. And so something you can do to get your dwarves excited is they like looking at pretty things. So we're going to go and build ourselves a pedestal. Pedestal. We'll make a rock one. So at our stonecrafter, we'll make a rock pedestal. We'll just make like 2 of them. And then go whip those things out. And actually, we can do it here also, make it a little bit faster. This is a stand, basically. And it's a stand we're going to put something on. You can put whatever you want on there. You can put a sock on there if you want. You can put a cave crocodile's dead body on there. Whatever you want. But they're going to have a value. And that value is pleasing to the dwarves. And you can see that when you look at their expressions. This guy's mad because there's some miasma in here. Let's see if you see anything here. Receiving water. You don't have anything there. But there's nothing really pretty to look at, but if they'll get happy thoughts looking at pretty things. So anywhere there's like high traffic areas, or any temples, or anywhere that the dwarves seem to congregate a lot, like if you have, say, a stairwell here, then maybe stick it next to the stairwell. I saw someone mentioned a good idea is build your stairs kind of like... no, wrong stairs. Build your stairs something like this, and we'll go out here a little bit further. Stairs, we'll do 3x3 stairs like that, and then we'll mine the middle one. So you've got a center spot there. And so you have stairs all around, and in the center spot, you put a pedestal with an artifact. So and you put that in the middle of your fortress, so every time your dwarves, like, they go to bed, and then they come out of the bedroom and they go to the work. They're going to walk by that statue every day. That'll make them happy. And we're going to build that pedestal just like anything else. It's a furniture. It's a display. And we can put it in. We'll put it right there. Maple pedestal. And we'll come sit this thing. Someone will come build this thing. Here it comes, I think. Yeah. And on the pedestal, we'll assign a new display item. You can put more than one thing on here. But we can go put something on here. Our anvil. We can put... we got some armor we can throw on there. We made a warhammer, I think, a while back. Weapon. Yeah, anything that has a weird name. So Zurzulgigan is the name of our warhammer. Let's toss that on there. Click the box. There we go. So they will go grab that thing and stick it on there. Something about artifacts I didn't talk about, which I should have, and it's one of the things that makes Dwarf Fortress great, is objects over here. And we're going to go to this thing. We'll go to this Zurzulgigan. Take a look at this guy. This is a gold warhammer. All craftsmanship shipped to the highest quality. Objects, menaces of spikes of gold. That one's boring. Let's find a more exciting one. Objects. How about this divine hair instrument? Is there anything exciting about it? There we go. All right, so it is adorned with hanging rings of gold and llama bone. It is a large stationary percussion instrument. It consists of a bone block. Musician strikes the block with wooden hammers. The instrument has a single middle pitch. Instrument has a steady, light, fragile timbre. There you go. Every artifact you have is going to have a description about it. You'll find things in there that are like, they'll build a warhammer that commemorates the time the elves came in and attacked, and your dwarf chopped his head off, and that's what the image on the warhammer is. It's an image of that dwarf chopping the elf's head off. Everything through the history of the game, these stories will get printed on all of these artifacts. It also gets printed on the floors here, which you got this floor on the ground. Sometimes you'll see some of those that do that as well. And one of the things that makes Dwarf Fortress great is the artifacts and the stories behind them. And I apologize for not mentioning it when it happened. So we'll do a little bit of... we'll talk a little about steel, just touching on steel. Steel's kind of a bit big time. Copper is kind of basic, and once we start getting into things like hematite and limonite, we can start getting iron ore out of the caverns. I've shown how to make copper and gold. It's the same thing, but once you get into steel, it's a little bit more of a process. So we've got, actually I don't know if I can do it here just yet, but we've got some hematite I noticed up here. So we can go and mine that, and that will bring in the hematite, which will give us iron. And once the iron comes in, we can come over here to our smelter, and we have black bronze. We can smelt the hematite, wherever it is here, and it'll give us iron bars. Now, if we have iron bars and we have a flux stone, which we know what flux stone is by going into the stone use, and something that has like calcite or chalk or dolomite. What else we got in here? Limestone is one I see a lot of. There's marble in there. If you have those stones around, then they can make steel. Of course, you need coke, which you get from the furnace. And creating not just charcoal, but coke for our furnaces. And then our metalsmith can go in here and make steel. Was that a goblin right there? Sometimes folks want to come in here and visit us. I'm not sure if this happened before or not, but we got a door in here. Wants to eradicate some monsters. Sure, come on in. Another thing making people happy, some folks will come in and they want to entertain. So you can allow them to stay in your fortress, and they will join and hang out in your tavern, and they will entertain your dwarves. Makes people happy. So, happy dwarves are dwarves that work. All right, so we've got... I got a couple questions about having a lot of dwarves or slowing the game down. And it is possible that you can do that. And you go to settings, and we can go into game. Down here in... Let me see if I remember how it's at here. Population cap. There it is. Right now it's 200. That's default, and you can change that. Go lower or higher if you want more. If your computer can handle it, do more. If you want to keep a small fortress, you can keep it lower. This is also like birth cap and visitor cap. All that stuff is thrown in here. If you want the game to run a little bit slower, there's two options. Maybe confused by. There is the FPS cap, which is there at 60, and we also have the game's frames per second cap. This is the one you want to mess with. 100 is default. If you go lower, the game's gonna run slower. If you go faster, the game's gonna run faster, as fast as it can anyway. And that was a way of kind of slowing things down if you want to do that. I got a lot of questions about that one. On armor reassigning, I've seen some questions about armor. So some folks came in here and they like deleted their metal armor thing. I didn't make a new one. So we can go in here to Leacott. We can see his details, what he's got over here. Say we want to change something. So these are metal shields. And I talked about before that metal shields and wooden shields are the same. I forgot that metal armor has metal shields. So we can take off the metal shields and we can add on the any shield. There you go. So now any shield we grabbed, doesn't matter what material it is. And if we like it, we can call it number 1. And we can save it, confirm it as a uniform. So there we go. So now that is number 1. They'll go and reassign and go grab whatever they need to grab and get their gear. Hopefully, if they go get it. Hopefully they'll find something. It's still the same. It just changed the shield out. They'll go grab stuff eventually. I have had a problem. Hopefully this will get fixed soon, where they just won't pick things up. And so if I just go back in and just reassign it, then it'll kind of reset everything, and then they'll go back and grab their stuff. It's paused right now, which is why it's not doing it. But there you go. Now they got their stuff, and they have shields as well. So now they are set. I think that was my list. That was everything. If you have any more questions, let me know. I don't know if I'm going to do any more of these. Again, my goal with this series was to get you started with Dwarf Fortress so that you can get into the game and enjoy the game. I have seen some comments about, like, what do I do now? You've got your sustainable fortress, and everything is running fine. Everything is running, and you don't know what to do next. What's the next step? Well, that's where the game comes into a sandbox. And some of the fortresses I've made, you can do the standard sort of dig deep, build yourself a fortress, get yourself up to a barony, and then up to a county, and then work your way up to a mountain home. You've got the king living in your fortress, build himself a throne room and all that. So of course, you can dig deeply and greedily. I will not say much about this, other than only that there is some exciting things and interesting things the deeper you go. You can, of course, go to the world map, and this will be a plenty of ideas with this. Each of these sites, of course, have, well, my prisoners over there. There's step number one. A lot of these sites will have artifacts. We can go out there and maybe we create a place that stores artifacts. We go out and steal all the things in the world and bring them to our tower. There's other places to go hunt, like monasteries and tombs we can go hunt through here and send our troops to go take care of. On another game that I have, I'll show it right actually. I have created a green glass tower. Rather than go down into the pits, I have created a very tall tower made of glass. I'm in a biome with sand, and I have just taken that sand, made glass out of it, and made a giant tower. And on this tower, also on this game, I've also made some people angry. I began down here on this island, and everyone was happy. We were allied with everyone. We are not allied with anyone anymore because I went and I wanted to go steal those artifacts. So I went and I bounced all these other places and found some things to steal. I made the goblins go to war with me. We are the blue dwarves. There was some elves down here that I stole from, and I made them mad at me. So now, like every year, when the dwarven trade caravan comes in, they give me new news, and I'm learning about all these different keeps that are changing sides. Like the goblins have taken a dwarven keep there. My dwarves took a couple of elven places over on this side. And so you can kind of see the war starting to take effect in the land where I started it. So it's I don't know. It's get something a point for me, I guess, for starting a war. There's one other thing I want to talk about. Other fortresses. So you can go out build like a there's temples, temples in the game, and every game has a different pre-generated god or list of gods. You can go and create a traveling monastery, or maybe you go build on a volcano and you go worship the god of volcanoes, and maybe the goddess of volcanoes like sacrifices every once in a while. And bridges, pulling levers on bridges, make fantastic dwarf catapults, and if you make it in the volcano, you get points. I may or may not have done that. Praise on Tinty. There's a number of ideas there, but there's a few. I hope to hear some other ideas, other stories that folks have done in Dwarf Fortress, because that's a good way of finding out other ideas for what to do with Dwarf Fortress. One other thing I want to show. The other question I get a lot of is aquifers. So let's talk about aquifers. Last thing, this will be the final one for this video, is aquifers. So light aquifers aren't too bad. There are heavy aquifers. I do encourage you to stay away from those. Those require pumps. But light aquifers ain't so bad. So we're going to go embark over here, and I'm going to show you what to do about an aquifer. It even gives you a warning about it. But it's really not too bad it's actually kind of nice, because you'll have water in your fortress, because you don't have to go digging around or trying to bring any rivers into you. You've got the water already right there. You don't have to dig into the caverns. But I'm going to show you how to dig into it safely. All right, so we begin here in a very cold place. We're going to go ahead and dig a couple of trees. We're going to chop a couple of trees to give us some wood. And then we're going to go and dig down. So we're going to take, we're just going to start digging straight down. We're going to go by 2 by 2 here. And we're going to go down just a couple levels here. And we'll let them dig. I'll zoom in here so we can see. You don't have to do 2 by 2. You can do bigger, you can do smaller, whatever. Just do your down stair and just go until you find the water. And it'll tell you when you find it. You'll get an alert here. There's an alert right there. So it'll stop you, and it won't dig. If you want to keep on digging, you gotta tell them, keep on digging. Make sure I click on that correctly. So we'll click on my spot here and keep on going down. And now they're going to go ahead and dig through there. So we're going to be kind of quick here, and they're going to continue digging. We're going to hit space, and we're on this level with the aquifer. So we're going to go ahead and tell them to go ahead and dig this out, like that. Okay, we'll finish that one up. And they'll come up here, and they will dig this thing out. And we're going to take those logs that we've got, and you can do rocks as well. And you see the water starting to seep in here from the aquifer. But all we have to do is come in and build ourselves a wall. Doesn't matter what it's made out of. I'm going to construct that. There. Ideally, you do this one level at a time, otherwise it'll start seeping in down below. We're going to start closing this thing up. If something gets interrupted, we can go and renew it. But now that has been sealed. I don't know if this is an aquifer right here. I think it was just level 1. It was just one level aquifer, wasn't it? Yeah, it was just that one. So we just have one level aquifer there. Oh, no, there's some here so also. So same thing. We're going to go and we're going to put in another wall. And I think actually this is an aquifer too. Yeah, it's a pretty deep one. So, and that's all there is to it. You go in, you gotta be kind of quick because once the water gets too deep, you can't build in these walls. But this will clear it out, and then you put the walls in, which will seal off the aquifer. And the nice thing about this is it's going to give you, you're going to have permanent water. You don't have to go out and get it. You don't have to go to the caverns. It also will provide you a water source that will create mud when you need farming. And so you will have an instant farm, even on stone here. We can get a farm started. I showed that last time, or a couple times ago. And we keep on going down until we're no longer in aquifer time. And we'll see that whenever the water droplet thing is gone. You can see it there. It's getting sealed up. Once we go down, looks like it is still there. So it's got quite an looks like it's just that one piece there. So this has got quite an aquifer to it. But you get the idea. And once you get past the aquifer, you'll get to where there's no more water, which like it is there. That just came from the top. There is no more water symbols, so we have made it. I lie. We haven't made it past yet, but we keep doing that until we get past the water level, and then you're done. And then you can build below that, and you don't have to worry about water anymore. And you've built under an aquifer. So there we go. I hope that covers everything. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I don't have any intention of doing any plans of doing another one of these. But if there's a lot of questions or something comes up and I feel like I need to, then I will come in and do it again. But thank you for watching this series. And I will see you when Adventure Mode comes out and we need an Adventure Mode tutorial. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.